The subclavian vein fuses with the jugular. So there's that other Y. The jugular fuses with the subclavian. That then forms the brachiocephalic vein. The brachiocephalic vein will then go into the superior vena cava. Now, if you see this, oh, look at this brownish, what the heck is that? Let me just clear that out. That's actually something I want to mention next time. That's a lymphatic vessel. All right, so just right here where the brachiocephalic vein starts, just don't be too liberal with, ripping stuff out. You might see something that you wanted to see next week. Okay. As we then move inferiorly, having talked about the brain and back and the arm and back, we can see the thoracic aorta. So I don't have a model of it. If I want to ask the thoracic aorta, I'll ask it here in the cat. So the arch of the aorta starts to descend, and if you take your lungs and you expose the left side, you will then see the thoracic aorta. Big, fat, thoracic aorta, easy to ask. What would happen if you expose the right side? On the right side, you see a vein. All right, so can everyone see I've exposed the right side under the lungs? So I pulled the lung backs, and I see a vein. What vein is that? Okay, it wouldn't be the pulmonary because that would actually be going into the lungs. Okay. A lot of people would think the inferior vena cava. That would be a very good guess. You being advanced students, you know that guess is wrong, so that's why you didn't say that. Okay. The inferior vena cava would be a good guess, but it's wrong. You actually have to rip the liver apart to see the inferior vena cava. This one is on your list. I love this vein, but I don't know why it's on your list, but it is. It's called the azygos vein. It's an alternate route back from the inferior sections of the body. So personally, I wouldn't have put it on your list. It's actually really cool. Fish have this vein. You had it as an embryo, but then you reworked it a little bit. So, it has a really neat history and an embryological stuff, so it's a cool vein to know. But it's the only vein that's not on our list of brain and back, hand and back, foot and back. It's an alternate route back from the inferior parts of your body, the azygos. All right. Here we see the abdomen. I think you would do yourself a service if you ignore everything between my two fingers for now. All right, after the lab midterm, we intend on spending, half of a semester going through this stuff, but leave this, alone for now. You can kind of see where the abdominal aorta splits to make the iliac stuff. Now, there is a common iliac vein and an internal iliac vein and an external iliac vein. There's no common iliac artery, and the arteries are on top. So, to be honest, if I pin something here, you could get it wrong just because you're thinking human when you're looking at a cat. So, to prevent that, the only thing that you see here is the external iliac artery. That's the only artery. The internal never fuses with it. So, if I ask it close to the body wall, that's the external iliac artery. That's the position that the external iliac is in humans. So, I'm going to ask it in a way that you shouldn't get confused. There is a difference between humans and cats, but I won't ask you in a way that that's significant. So that's the external iliac. Once we get into the leg, it's called the femoral. Now notice that what the femoral artery will do, it will take a dive. See? These muscles belong there. But you have to cut through the adductor muscles. This takes a dive and it becomes the popliteal artery and vein behind the knee. Once we get into the lower leg, it branches to make a Y. You can see the Y. But right there now, it's a tibial artery and vein. Now, there is also an alternate route back here. You can see it here and it broke there. This is the great saphenous vein. All right, so you can get back from the foot to the femoral vein without going through the popliteal. This is the saphenous vein. You probably even noticed it in A&P1. Just once you take the skin off, it's just right deep to the skin. So, I'll leave these out, and you may use them as a reference. I think, this is about the time we take a break, and before you got involved, I think,